let's jump into today's agenda. What I'm going to cover first is just a baseline of the current state of vacation rental market. How is Airbnb performing? Kevin and I were just talking about the New York City law that they just passed, so we'll talk a little bit about that. But then the majority of the agenda here is how can you support your clients? Taking them from, I'm curious about Airbnb, I have this money, I want to invest, I want to get a property for short-term rentals. How do you support them through that journey besides just opening the doors and writing a contract? From there, we're going to dive into post-purchase and how you can support your client. And then I'll give you some resources and next steps on how you can learn more. A little bit about my background. Again, welcome everybody to the short-term rental class. My name is Joe Biscaha. I am a licensed real estate agent with Compass here in Miami Beach. I got my license in 2019, and very quickly, I knew that I had to find a niche. My niche that I discovered that I really like was short-term rentals. You can go on my YouTube channel. I have a ton of YouTube content on short-term rentals, but basically a quick story is that before I was a realtor, I had a 2-bedroom apartment on Collins Ave at the Georgian. And when my roommate moved out, I actually Airbnb'd it illegally for a couple months. I loved the Airbnb aspect. I was thinking, I can make some extra money. I wouldn't have to have like a permanent roommate there. And then, I'd get to meet some people who were traveling. So I've hosted, a ton of different people who came through my little apartment. I definitely learned my lesson when the condo board almost served me an eviction notice because I was doing it illegally. So, since then, I've worked at a couple of technology companies. I've worked at Apple on Lincoln Road. And then when I left Apple, I decided to get my real estate license. So I like to say that I take the best of the Apple Store experience and I provide that to my clients. So with that said, you're going to get a full experience today. And to kick it off, I want to talk about the vacation rental industry as a whole. So if you can believe this, the global vacation rental market value is at 87 billion. That's not taking into account your regular hotel chains, your Marriott's, anything like that. That is just the vacation rental market. And it's projected to be worth over 200 billion at the end of this year. And if you can believe it, on any given night, 2 million people are staying in an Airbnb, right? So I know that maybe some of us already know this information, but it's always nice to take a step back and zoom out and take a look at the big picture here. Vacation rentals aren't going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. States and counties, they can, put regulations and restrictions, but vacation rentals have always been here. It's just that we have this new technology and we have this layer that makes it a lot easier to transact between vacation rental owners and guests. So to dive right in, we know that COVID impacted vacation rentals. Let's talk about this first. We know that people are going on more road trips. We know that people's top concern is cleanliness, and we know that people can work remote now. So with this increase in workations and staycations, we know that people are traveling and they're staying in vacation rental properties and they're working, they're allowed to. So through 2022, people have chose for more outdoorsy locations. Miami has been a huge hub. We all know this. And the big thing right now that owners are focusing on is their occupancy rate. So owners are not being loyal to one site like Airbnb, for example. They are on VRBO, Airbnb, and then also a lot of the savvy owners, we'll talk about this later, but they're doing direct bookings. So they're figuring out a way to capture guest information and guest emails so that they can book directly with them and then cut out Airbnb as the middleman. All right, so let's talk about how do we support our buyers. I know that we're all real estate agents, right? And in a standard transaction, we provide comps, right? But how do you provide comps as a real estate agent? And sometimes some questions that I get from agents is, Joe, I'm worried I don't want to provide comps, or I don't want to provide this type of information to my clients because I don't want them to rely on it and then maybe something changes. But we'll talk about this at the end. I'll show you a different way that you can run numbers and show your client just the best information that's out there. But remember, at the end of the day, when you have a client or a customer who comes to you and is asking for help with a short-term rental property, you need to be the expert. You need to know as much as you can. You need to have relationships. You need to be able to hold them by the hand start to finish so that they feel really comfortable. So we all know that there are a couple different key reasons that our clients come to us, but after 100 phone calls with many people who are contacting me from YouTube or contacting me because they know that I specialize in Airbnb, I found out that there are really 4 buckets that clients fall into. You're going to have the people who just want to turn a profit. They want to make money, right? But then you also have the people who see it as a long-term financial path of being able to purchase a property, hold on to it, hold on to the equity, and this is like a retirement in the future. Which goes on to, preparing for retirement. A lot of people, they want to be able to have a place in Miami. They live in New York City. Their kids are young, but once their kids get older and, they are going to college, they're going to sell that property in New York, and then they're going to move down to Florida. And then my 4th bucket, which is really interesting, is to simplify vacations, right? So they want to have a property in Miami, and they're going to black out the calendar for December and November, Thanksgiving, and they just want to fly down and have the property turnkey ready to go. And then they just want to be hands off and have somebody manage it when they're not in town for those holidays. And based off of these 4 buckets, like I've said before, there's a misconception, where, how would I say it? Buyers, they want to go to you and they just want the single source of truth. Buyers don't want to have to do research on their own in Google and YouTube. So Biscaha did a study a couple of years back, and when they surveyed their homeowners who own a property that's being managed by them, 58% of these vacation homeowners expected to find vacation rental information directly on their agent's website. So I just want to call this out, because start to think about some different ways that you can be the source of truth. Remember, don't have your clients go out on all different other websites, but how could you be the single source of truth when it comes to vacation rental properties? So just keep that in the back of your mind today as we go forward in the deck, and then as we go forward in the Q&A. So when you are supporting your buyers, you're going to get a lot of questions. And these are some of the questions that my buyers have asked me. So I think that you can take a screenshot of this. At the end, I'll have a QR code so you can download the slides. But for you to become an expert in vacation rental properties, start with these questions here. So the big one, can I buy this property and will it cash flow? Will it still make me money? Well, we need to dive into that. There's no right or wrong answer. There's no yes or no, but we need to figure out, if you're financing this property with a mortgage, will the Airbnb revenue cover the mortgage? Or if you're buying it cash, there's different implications on your return. What will your cap rate be? How do you calculate cap rate? How do you increase your ROI? What are some things that I can do to increase my average daily rate? Should I add an extra bathroom? Should I provide beach chairs? Do you have a recommendation for a property manager? I don't personally manage any properties on a daily basis because that's not my specialty, but I have relationships with property managers that I can refer out, who I know and who I trust. And I know that they do work in this building, or they are the main person at the club at Brickell Bay, and they have 6 units that they manage. So I know, which buildings and which managers to refer out clients to. So if you're thinking about taking that step and becoming a short-term rental expert for your clients, be ready for these types of questions, and you should be able to answer them quickly, right? So speaking of how do we increase the ROI? Well, these are the top 10 features that the clients from Biscaha, which is a property management company, said influenced their rental pricing. Like I said, number 1 is the bathrooms. Is it a 2-bedroom house with 1 bathroom and you're trying to sleep 6 people in there? It's going to be tough to share 1 bathroom with 6 people. So bathrooms are definitely going to influence also your bedrooms and the amount of beds. So again, if you have a 2-bedroom house, do you have a sofa with a pullout? If it's a 1-bedroom condo, is the bedroom a decent size? And then you can have your kids maybe sleep on the pullout. Take these things into consideration. Start to think about who your ideal client is that's staying at that vacation rental property. Think about things like if you're nearby a Whole Foods, are you by a Trader Joe's? These are all different things that are going to impact your daily rate. Biggest one here in South Florida, I think that we all know, is the pool. If you can have some sort of pool, hot tub, any sort of, water activity that's on site on the property, you are going to have a lot of success and great occupancy rates because of the bookings. People love to come to Florida and they love to stay at a property with a pool. All right. Moving right along, we talked about how we influence vacation rental pricing, and I mentioned before a little bit about financing. So most of my buyers I work with, they purchase their properties for vacation rentals in cash, especially when it comes to condos and condo hotels. They purchase these, just straight, it's a cash transaction, and that makes things easy, right? But I do have buyers who like to do creative things, and I just sold a duplex to a VA buyer who's going to live on the top of the duplex, and then on the bottom, they are leasing it out on Airbnb. So with everything that I'm talking about, when it comes to financing, you can do financing on Airbnb type of properties, but you have to think like an underwriter. You have to put on your underwriter cap and to really think, if you were to get this deal in front of you, does the client have a 25% down minimum for a down payment on a condo, 25 to 30%? How's their debt to income ratio? Do they already own an existing property that maybe you can do a HELOC or pull some cash out? And the biggest thing at the end of the day is getting your client pre-approved and showing the lender the money. I've talked to over 100 different people. Most of my clients, again, they come from YouTube, so I get a nice variety of people from all over the US. I have had over 200 initial, I would call them consultation calls with people who are looking. And the biggest thing is financing. The people who call me, they either are looking for a low down payment option, or they're looking at, a condo hotel and they're trying to finance it. I will just have to say, you have to find a good lender, and you have to find somebody who you can really trust. I mean, just like a regular residential transaction. But condo hotels are extremely difficult. I have not had one single client who has been able to get condo hotel financing and make the numbers work out. Condo hotel financing is a whole nother thing that we could teach another class on that would probably be better taught by a mortgage broker. But you have to remember that condo hotels in Florida, when the 2008, crash happened, condo hotels were the first product that people would walk away from. So condo hotel financing, nobody likes to touch them. You're not going to get, a big bank like Bank of America or even, your local mortgage broker to really write any sort of loans on these. It's going to be an investor loan. It's going to be 7, 8, 9, 10% interest rate. It's going to be a 30% down payment. So at the end of the day, I'm just sharing this with you all 147 people on this call, because I don't want you to waste time. It is going to be okay to tell your clients, hey, this deal isn't going to work from a financing standpoint. If you can maybe harness some cash or do a HELOC, maybe we can make this deal work. But you can't buy a condo hotel with 5% down. You can't buy a condo hotel, at the W with 10% down. It's just not going to work. And then at the end of the day, the numbers, if you do get a loan on these types of condo hotels, you're not going to be making any money. And the last thing I want to see is my clients to not be able to cover their mortgage, right? So financing tip for buyers, what I want everybody to get at the end of the day, it is much easier to find a single family or a duplex home and finance that than it is financing a condo hotel. Now, there are caveats of that. I'm sure that we all know that there are condos out there that allow shorter term rentals. For example, the Club at Brickell Bay, that is a regular condominium, but it just so happens that the owners, they all voted to allow daily rentals. So, there are some condos out there that you can get financing on, but I just like to say, caution your buyers and really make sure that you're thinking like an underwriter, because if you don't, you will be wasting time with people who are not qualified, and you'll be spinning your wheels and not able to make a deal. This is what happened to me at the very beginning. So I like to use this platform to just share my experience. So hopefully that makes sense for everybody. All right, getting off of my financing soapbox, let's talk about once you found the property, once you wrote the contract, once you went through everything, start to ask your client what are they going to need post-purchase, right? So these are going to be like the incidentals, the disposables, right? A lot of your clients will probably need to furnish the property if they're buying it vacant. The great news now is that I'm going on MLS and I'm seeing that a lot of owners are including furniture as part of the sale. Or they're basically selling the entire unit turnkey, which is awesome. A lot of those new construction condos that we all know about, they're selling their units completely turnkey. But if the unit is not turnkey, let's say, for example, that duplex that I just sold, you're going to want to have a consultation with your customer and really have them think about, okay, what type of furniture? Are we doing a sofa bed? How many people can sleep on the sofa bed? What type of houseware are we going to get? Are we going to get the Amazon Basics? Are we going to go a little higher end? Where are we going to keep the soaps and the toilet paper? We're not just going to leave it out for the guests to take. Are we going to put it in a lockout closet? Is the cleaner going to bring it in there? Really start to go into detail with your client and ask them these questions. And this is how you start to get on the path of that advisor, right? We're not here to just sell you a vacation property, but if I know that the property is near the beach, I'm going to tell my client, hey, think about buying 2, 3, 4 beach chairs. Think about buying sand toys for kids if that's what the type of clientele that you're trying to attract at your vacation rental. Like, really go through everything with your client and get them to start thinking, and you'll start to realize, oh wow, they're not thinking of these things, and that's what makes you look good as a realtor. Now, property management is not just accepting, the request on Airbnb and hitting, yes, I approve. Property management is a lot more. So some questions that you can ask your customers are, how are you planning on screening everybody? How are you planning on responding to all the messages that you get? Do you have a cleaner? Do you have somebody who's local, who's responsible, that you can trust? Again, how are you going to replenish the supplies? Do you have extra bed sheets? Who's going to check in the guest? Do you have a lockbox? What happens if the guest prior doesn't return the key? Is there a key set up somewhere else? So you have to go through and you have to let your client know that, yeah, you definitely can self-manage, and, you probably only have one unit and you're really excited to be an Airbnb host. But here's the thing. A lot of people don't talk about host fatigue. What is host fatigue? Host fatigue is what happens after your 6th or 7th booking, when, that feeling of, oh my God, I just got a booking. I'm so excited. I'm going to make sure it's clean. I'm going to make sure the bed is perfect. You start to get tired, especially when your client has a full-time job or they have other commitments or they have kids. They don't want to deal with this. They don't want to deal with changing over the sheets. And I'm speaking from personal experience. I was doing this all myself on my 2-bedroom condo. I was taking a lunch break when I was at Apple, and I would be running from Lincoln Road to Collins, and I would have to change the sheets, make sure that the key was returned, make sure it was clean. And, after the 6th, 7th, 8th booking, you're tired. You're really, really tired. So property management is a lot more than what people think it is. And if you have a great property manager, they are worth their weight in gold. Now, I mentioned, people might just have one unit, right? And they don't have the 10 or the 15 or the 20% to invest in a property manager. So I like to break down the differences, and they really fall into 3 different buckets. So I tell my clients, you can self-manage. But when you self-manage, be prepared to handle all of the inquiries, all of the requests. If it's midnight and your guest gets locked out, be prepared for that. You're going to have to take your photos yourself. You're going to have to look at the other properties on Airbnb, find out your own comps, find out your property average daily rate. And yeah, I mean, if you self-manage, you really have to know the area and you have to be an expert in the location. So self-management, probably not for that client who lives in New York or Chicago or California and is buying in Miami. So a lot of my buyers who buy one property, they fall under this like a la carte hybrid option. And what that allows you to do is they use a technology, or they use an app or an AI. There's plenty of different softwares out there that are going to take off a lot of the communication and the burden for the host. So a lot of these softwares will automatically price the unit based on what the other units in the neighborhood are going for. A lot of these softwares will automatically handle guest inquiries. They do a FAQ. Some of these softwares even have like a trusted provider network where you can request a cleaner from these providers, right? But one of the things that you need to know with this a la carte is that it's a technology, it's a software at the end of the day. They might not have local boots on the ground like a full service management company, which brings us to our third bucket, which is a complete hands-off full service management company. And this is for the client who goes, you know, I want to buy a property, I want to be hands-off, and I just want to collect my check every month or have direct deposit. So you might want to look at somebody like Vacasa, or I know iTrips has been affiliated with the Miami Realtor Board before. You're going to find your own property management company. Again, there are hundreds of property management companies out there in Miami. I work with about 3 that I know and I trust that are based in buildings that my clients own. Some work at Club at Brickell Bay, some are experts at Midblock and Midtown. So you're gonna find your hands-off vacation management company, but the way that I like to explain it is it's completely hands-off. You know, the vacation management companies, they're great because they are boots on the ground. They probably manage a couple different units in the condo building or in the neighborhood. And this is going to be a complete professional experience. You're going to have professional photos. They're going to have a professional cleaning staff that knows exactly how your home needs to be turned over in between guests. And you're just going to have that dedicated local team. So between these options, my first time buyers that are buying a vacation property, and this is their first and only one, they do fall into the self-management and the a la carte. And then my buyers who have families, or they fall into that category earlier that I talked about, they just want to have a vacation property and be hands-off. They fall into that full service hands-off. So I say this because a next step that I'm going to talk about is building relationships with management companies, because your management company is going to help you when it comes time to forecasting numbers. So I have a QR code right here to download all of these slides. We're about a half hour in, which is perfect timing. So I want to just give you all some resources, and I hope that this first half was just a good way for you to get some ideas and some questions that you should start thinking about if you want to become an expert at short-term rental properties. So my first tip, and this is the biggest thing, just connect with a vacation property manager. Give them a call. Let them know that you're a realtor. Let them know that you work with short-term rental clients and that you're looking to build a relationship with them. Then ask them what are some challenges that they see. You know, just build that relationship with them. Take them out for coffee. Because at the end of the day, I like to lean on them when it comes time to introducing them to my client and providing numbers and financials and all of that stuff. They're the experts that are sending their clients income estimates every month. So rely on them for that kind of stuff. Second resource that I have on there is the Bigger Pockets forum. It's always nice to go on Bigger Pockets. You can search, you can see what other vacation rental owners are doing across the United States. You can see what new people are doing, what experienced hosts are doing. Third one is YouTube. YouTube is so big now. Back when Airbnb was first getting started, there weren't a lot of hosts that were sharing, but there are so many hosts that are sharing their experience on YouTube just to give back. And then my fourth resource that I want to share is the Airbnb website. Tons of great information when it comes to zoning and regulations. I don't like to be that single source of truth for my clients when it comes to zoning and regulations. I direct all of my clients to Airbnb.com so they can read for themselves on the intricacies of the municipalities and the zoning and everything like that. So thank you all for letting me do a quick 30-minute introduction. I'm going to stop sharing. Well, I'm going to leave the slide up so that you can scan the QR code and grab the slides. But I know that we have some questions in the chat. The way that I like to do this is I can see the participants, and if you could just raise your hand, Kevin, you might have to help me out, but I think there's a way that we can do like a little order. And I'd love to hear from everybody here. If there's a question that you have on your mind, maybe I can help answer it. If not, I can, take it offline with you and, find you the answer.
So yeah, let's just do raising of the hands, and it should create an order, Joe. You're correct.
Awesome.
Here we go. We got our first one. Eric, what you got, man?
Hey everyone. How do there's a little I'm a little bit confused. I'm a tenured real estate agent, and I'm still confused about the short-term rental restrictions in I guess South Beach. So or even downtown Miami. Like where's the go-to source to know what is allowed and what is not allowed based on I guess the city?
Yeah, a great question. I get that a lot. You have to go to the municipality. So the city of Miami Beach, if you Google city of Miami Beach short-term rental, they have a great map that shows what areas are actually zoned. The way that I like to explain short-term rentals in Miami Beach to my clients is think about, well, the way that I like to explain it is, you have to remember that all of these hotels in Miami Beach, they're very much lobbied. They pay a lot of money to the government for, their tourists and the tourism tax. So that is why Miami Beach is very strict when it comes to the regulations on short-term rentals. And there are only certain zones that you can do it in. The majority of buildings is going to be condo hotels.
Yeah, if I can double on that, I have a lot of customers, and yes, many of them are looking for investments. Many of them are looking for Airbnbs. How can we as realtors ensure, or how do we ensure that the association or the restrictions for a building that we're selling them doesn't change in 6 months, a year? Or you said there's no way.
Yeah, you can't. I tell my clients, you have to think of your exit strategy. What happens if the board all votes? Club at Brickell Bay is a minimum day lease 1 day. But what happens if the board all gets together and they say no more daily rentals? I mean, you have to put it back on your client. Do you think that will happen? And are you okay with this type of risk? Do you have an exit strategy? If there is no more daily rentals and it's a 30-day rental or a 1-year rental, our exit strategy is going to have to shift. And, it might be something that you need to sell now and you're putting it on the market, or we're finding you a long-term tenant, giving your client all of the options.
Does this even apply to like builders now? There's a lot of builders, especially in downtown Miami, that are selling short-term Airbnb condos, and that's literally like their main selling point.
Yeah.
Are they allowed to change the rules later on after like the developers as they're pitching it to, the buyers?
Yeah. I can't speak like from a legal standpoint, of course, I'm not an attorney, but I noticed that on like District 225 and on West 11th, for example, there are some sort of disclaimers that they put on the bottom where it says, under the county, short-term rentals are permitted under the county ordinance, and they kind of like put that disclaimer out there.
Well, I may have some questions, but I'll let others go. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Eric.
Eric, don't hesitate to raise your hand again. Carmen, you're up next.
Hey, everybody. Yes, I have a question for you. Can you show me how do you make the comparables, please? Or give me an idea?
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to open up a tab because I did want to cover this. Again, I didn't want to go like too advanced. Let me share the screen real quick.
Joe, you got at least 30 minutes. So if you want to go more advanced, you're more than welcome.
Yeah, let's do it. I love it. Okay, so there's a lot of different websites out there. Some are paid, some are free. You can use a website like AirDNA. I've used that in the past. It's a paid service, but then I found this company. It's called Awning. And just a disclaimer, I'm not affiliated with them or anything like that, but Awning is a property management site. They want to be like the Zillow for Airbnb, where people will go on Awning and then they like match you to an agent and everything. But I use them for estimating a home's revenue, right? So they have a free calculator on here. So let's say 1200 Brickell Bay Drive, which is the club at Brickell Bay. And then you choose the details on your property, Carmen. So let's say my client is looking to buy a 2-bedroom, 2-bath at the club at Brickell Bay. It has a pool and it has a hot tub. I'm going to hit estimate. And what it's going to do is this website scrapes Airbnb.com. It goes on Airbnb.com and it looks at all the listings at 1200 Brickell Bay Drive in this radius, and it's going to pull comparables, right? So I can sort by occupancy rate, I can sort by the distance, and I can also do filters. So if I only want to look at 2 bedrooms, I'm going to put 2 to 2. And now I'm only looking at 2 bedrooms, right? So you're going to come in here, you're going to dial it in a little bit more. You see a lot of listings are here. Sale at Brickell, Club at Brickell Bay. We all know Icon Tower 3 over here. So now, it's also Hotel AKA, that's where we have some down here. But now it's really pulling in the data. So Carmen, to answer your question, if we had a client looking at a 2-bedroom at Club at Brickell Bay, it looks like this one is making $81,000 a year. Now we have to click on view the listing. If it takes us to this website, the Airbnb splash page, then that tells us that that listing was no longer active. So we have to go back and we have to find one that's active. Now this one opens and it's active. You can almost tell that it's Club at Brickell Bay because if you've shown it, you see the railing. But what I like to do is open up the pictures, just get an idea. Okay, it looks like it might have been renovated. The flooring they did, you can tell, but they didn't really renovate the kitchen or anything. Yeah, the kitchen and the bathrooms, they're all developer finish. But it looked like that property was making $76 a year. And that is off of charging $312 a night and being occupied 64% of the time. So you can take these numbers, Carmen, and you can plug them into, like if you have an Excel spreadsheet, or if your investor has a criteria that they like to use, plug these in and you can estimate the returns here. Does that answer the question?
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Erica Hennessy, you're up next.
Yes, hi. I hope you can hear me okay, but my question has to do with licensing from the city because it looks, and I apologize, it's a stupid question, but it looks like the city does have a rough licensing process laid out. And you hear about cities like New York pulling back on short-term rental. Would you ever advise a client that has a condo in one of these buildings to get a license from the city if there's any kind of pullback on or restriction on the number of short-term rentals they want out there?
Yes. So I always, how do I say this? I always advise them to make sure they're educated on, all the laws, all the restrictions, everything like that. I will give them the resources and I will tell them, definitely to reach out and to get all the required licenses, the BTR, make sure that you're taking your license and you're putting it behind the door, like they say. Definitely, you're going to want to do it, in compliance with all the city and the state laws. I have a video on my YouTube channel about how to do this, but think of like a funnel, like the top down. So like the first step in Florida, like first of all, short-term rentals are allowed by the legislature in Florida, right? So the first step is applying to the DBPR. And we all know the DBPR from our licenses, right? So get your license with the DBPR and then work your way down. So DBPR and then Miami-Dade County, and get your license and your tax receipt with the county. And then from the county, you go to the city, so you kind of go down, and different areas are going to have different sort of requirements. So for example, I know in Key West, there's a process with the city where you have to send out like a mailing or a notice to the neighbors within a certain like half-mile radius, I believe. This is what another agent told me. So, start at the top and get like your license from the state, county, and then, narrow down to the city and just make sure you're compliant 100%.
In follow-up to that, is that a service that property managers would provide?
Yes, 100%. So property managers, they know the ins and outs of getting these licenses. So if your client opts to go with a property manager, hands off, the manager will get all the licenses and everything for them.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Thanks so much.
Anna Maria Roque, you're up next.
Thanks. I was unmuted. Hi, Joe. Thank you so much. It's really interesting. Is there a place where we can get a list of the municipalities and condos that accept daily rentals and a list of the trusted managers that you have dealt with and a list of the apps that you have worked with that that are like managing apps for people who want to do an a la carte sort of management?
Yeah. So list on, I'll tackle this couple questions. So a list on condos that allow short-term rentals. I like to use the MLS as my point of truth. And there's a field for minimum days lease, MIN days lease. And you have to play around with it because sometimes, we we run into listings that aren't inputted correctly. And I like to put like 0 to 1 or, 365. So, you have to play around with the filters, but in the MLS, you should be able to search for the minimum lease period. As for buildings, there's a couple different other brokers, that you can search, and you can just type in, Miami short-term rental buildings. And they have a list because it doesn't really change too often. As for property managers, I don't really have a list of property managers. I have a couple just off the top of my head. If you want to connect with me on email, I had my email on one of the slides, joe@joesellsmiami.com. We can kind of go back and forth. And for anybody who wants to follow up with questions, joe@joesellsmiami.com. Happy to help you and kind of point you in the direction. I like to give people a couple of different options. So, I don't just have like one property manager, but I have like 3 different management companies per different buildings, just so that people have options and I'm not individually recommending one company over another.
And about municipalities that accept short-term, is there a way we can find out what areas, what municipalities accept and which don't?
It's tough. You have to rely on the municipality. So I do a quick Google search and I'll type in City of Miami short-term rentals or Coral Gables short-term rental regulations. And if you do that, usually one of the first or 2 or 3 results on Google that come up will be from the county. And it says, so for example, like North Miami, I'll type in North Miami short-term rental. The first thing that comes up, usually one of the first 2 links, will tell you more information. And in those, in that city, it's a 3-month minimum. So, you kind of quickly just find information just by a Google search. And then once you go through it, then you just start to have that knowledge of, I can advise clients, if they're looking to do daily rentals, not to look in North Miami Beach, just because of that fact. So Anna, to answer your question, I don't really have like a list of the municipalities. It's just kind of like what I've learned as I've been going through it.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I'll drop my email in the chat for anybody else who wants to reach out.
Thanks.
While he's writing that, Alexandru, you're up next.
Yep. Yeah. Hello, guys. Thank you. So I have a quick question about the zoning in Miami. So as I know, in some residential area where there are single families like El Portal or Biscayne Park, there are zones that are allowing Airbnb. How can we check exactly where there's that zoning? Like, what will be the platform that we can check it?
Yeah, so checking on municipalities and the zoning, your single point of truth is going to be that municipality website. So going on Google and typing El Portal short-term rental, restrictions or regulations, I think is a great place to start. I believe that it's very tricky to do it there. Very tricky. So I would lean on Google. And then also your property managers. So asking them, hey, do you manage any units in this area? Asking around to your property managers, and I think they can provide you a little bit more information if they do even manage units in those areas.
Okay, because I saw somewhere, I don't know, I believe it was on YouTube, but I cannot find this link again. So there was a map of the whole Miami-Dade County, and there on this map you can see like where it's red, it's allowed, where it's green, it's not allowed, and vice versa. So it was very, very, very easy to understand what exactly was zoning, but I cannot find this platform again, so that's why I'm asking.
Right. So you're talking about the Miami-Dade County. So remember, that's like another layer. So you have to take the layer even further, because after the county, then we have the city. So then you have to go to the city regulator. So from Miami-Dade County, what city? Is it the city of Miami? Okay. And then from the city of Miami, are we talking about a condo? Then the further layer is going to be the condo board. So see how it's like state, county, city, and then condo. That's kind of like the filter that we have to think of when we're seeing if short-term rentals are possible.
Okay. So if let's say we have a buyer who wants to purchase a single family, we should go the same way.
Yeah, because then your single family, the question that I would say is, at the end of the day, the single family, again, I'm breaking it down, but single family house is located in Florida. We know it's allowed in Florida. Check. We know that Airbnb is allowed in Miami-Dade County. Check. Now we have to check the city. Is it allowed in the city? Let's say, for example, it's allowed in the city. Check. Okay, but now is it allowed in the HOA? Is the single family home located in an HOA that does not allow these types of short term? So we have to check every single box in the funnel to make sure. And that's something that we can do. But again, you know, we want to have that property manager that we can lean on, because you can call your property manager with an address and say, hey, can you look up 123 Banana Street? And they say, yeah, we manage a listing nearby, or no, we can't do it.
Okay, understood.
Yeah,
Okay,
we don't have to
thank
know
you.
all the, yeah, you're welcome. And we don't have to know all the answers when it comes to zoning. We're not zoning and regulation experts, but we do know the resources. Resource number one, guys, biggest one, property managers. Build a relationship with a property manager. It's a win-win. A lot of them will even pay you a referral fee if your client signs like a long-term contract. Like, you'll get, you know, a win-win situation for everybody. And when it comes time to your client needing to sell the property, they're going to refer the client back to you. So, you know, when you build these relationships, it's mutually beneficial, and it's nice to lean on a partner who can help you with all of these types of regulations and the zoning and the licensing.
Okay.
Thanks so much for the question, though. Who's next?
We currently have nobody with their hand raised. Does anybody just want to pop on? All right, Eric, do you have any other? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what are the short term, I guess, tax implications? Isn't it, if it's under 100, what is it, 161 days rental, there's some sort of crazy tax on it?
So I'm not a tax expert, but I can speak to the short-term tax. So anything that's 6 months and less, it's going to be about a 14% tourism tax, and the party that collects the rent is responsible for remitting it to the, you know, responsible city or you know, county.
You mentioned AirDNA and awning. Aren't there a few other sites that that you use, I'm assuming, to check Airbnb statistics in a given city?
Oh yeah, there's a ton of them out there. You can even use Airbnb.com if you wanted to pull comps. You know, just going to Airbnb and running a search. You know, and you can kind of see what type of availability is out there. I don't work with one in particular. I think that they all pretty much do the same thing.
And awning, I'm assuming that was a gross amount, correct? That was gross before any management fees were taken. Right. Okay.
Yep. So that took a look at the calendar, took a look at the average daily rate and the occupancy, and it did a calculation based on, I think it was that, you know, 64% occupancy at a $347 average daily rate, and it spits out that number.
And again, that was before even Airbnb's fee, correct? Yeah. Thanks. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, Eric. Thanks so much. Airbnb's fee, everybody, is 3%. So, for example, if you had anybody who purchased in District 225 or West 11th, you know, that fee is the same no matter what building or anything. Airbnb is going to get their 3%. But since we have no questions, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the direct bookings, which I'm seeing a rise in. So what a lot of my owners are doing is they are creating Instagram pages. They're doing a lot of their own sort of digital marketing. They're making reels, they're making TikToks, and they're advertising their vacation rental property on these apps. And the whole goal is to get direct bookings so they can circumvent that 3% fee. So they don't have to pay the Airbnb. They don't have to rely and be at the mercy of Airbnb. And then the big thing that they're doing is they're getting people's email addresses, which is awesome. So on a certain weekend that they see that occupancy is a little bit light, they're email blasting, hey, come stay with us, use this code. And it's just nice because a lot of people who stay at a property and they have a great experience, they're going to rebook again. And they like booking direct. Like, clients like booking direct. And, you know, helping out, you know, that vacation owner. And then in turn, what my owners are doing is they're doing, you know, maybe like a nice bottle of wine on their check-in, or, you know, like a nice card that says, you know, dear John, thanks for booking direct. Thanks for visiting us again. You know, so, you know, start to think of some creative different ways that you can, you know, circumvent the Airbnb. You don't have to put all your eggs in one basket, and, you know, build really get as close to your guest as you can so that you can, just talk directly to them and cut out that middleman.
Hey, Joe, I got a real quick question on that. And I'm not a realtor, so maybe this is obvious. But okay, so now you have two different websites, right? You have the Airbnb side and you have your own personal side. How do you get them to communicate with each other so that there's no double bookings?
Yeah, great question. So that's where that like a la carte and that software comes in. So there's a ton of different softwares out there that are going to manage the calendar so that you can list on multiple sites, right? VRBO, Airbnb, your own personal. These websites, they're eating into the profit. They're taking 3%, but then they're also taking like a trust and safety fee. And yeah, you rented a house on VRBO and they take 25 to 30% of what a guest pays. Like that eats into a lot of profit. So I would say use a software and an app that allows for direct bookings. And that way, when somebody books direct, it automatically will change your Airbnb calendar. Another thing I would say, don't allow instant bookings. Like that should not be a thing. If you own a vacation rental site, I've just learned that you don't want people to be able to just instantly click and have a confirmed reservation. You want people to be able to send you a message to explain why they're visiting, even if it's just like a sentence or two. But I don't like to ever accept blind bookings. There's a question in the chat. What type of insurance would you need to have in case of a problem? There's a couple different insurance agents that are out there. I work with Melissa Raposo. She has her own insurance agency, and she is able to, just provide all the options under the sun about policies and liabilities. And I don't like to really dive into insurance, but I would say, that's where you have like your insurance. I'm sure we all have insurance agents that we work with on deals, so I would ask them.
I have a quick question. Do you have a spreadsheet like to do all the rate of return, and do you include also the taxes that the owners pay, or where can we find this resource on the web?
Yeah, great question. So a lot of the investors who come to me, they already have a spreadsheet and they just say, Joe, what are my numbers? And they kind of send it. But I will pull up this website. We have 10 minutes left, so this is great. This is a site called Deal Check. I'm going to share my screen right now. It is a paid site. I don't have an affiliate. Like I don't make any money from these guys, but I just like it because I have done the spreadsheets before and it just kind of, looks messy. And I like to give them like a professional type of product. So these are all the properties that I've analyzed on. This is the one that just closed. So when you come in here, you can edit it. You're going to put in, your purchase price, your ARV. I like that there's so many options here. So we can use financing and we can toggle this on. We can put in the down payment. We can even include if they're doing like a loan that allows you to finance the rehab, for example. You put in the interest rate, the term, if there's PMI. So you can add the loan information here. You can add in purchase costs. I always like to estimate 2%. How much is going to be rehab, and then rental income. So this is a really cool feature. You can hit edit rental, and this is a 2-unit. Each unit is 2-bed, 1-bath. When I click here, I can actually break it down. So if I had a different unit, like I had one that was 3-bedroom, one was 2-bedroom, I could adjust it here. But when it comes to gross rent, you're going to plug in what was on awning. So, you can go and you can put per year. And for example, if it made 90,000 per year, you plug that in, but then you can also put in the vacancy rate. So let's say it was 60% or 50, right? Now, when we go back up and I hit analysis, it's going to automatically adjust the numbers. Of course, if you're at 50% vacancy, you're not going to cash flow with a loan. But then when you go down, you see what all your numbers are, and you see, okay, so if I'm making 15K a month minus my vacancy, if I'm only occupied 50% of the month, that's going to take away $7,500. So then you break it down. When you come in here into operating expenses, you can even toggle on a manager fee. So let's say 15% for a manager. that's really going to eat into my profit, right? So, what I like to do is run these numbers and then say, you might have to self-manage and do maybe like an a la carte or something for the numbers to make sense. Was that
And
helpful?
what's the name? Sorry, what's the name of this software? A deal check.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that this is great. Even just like your first time home buyers, if you can run this through, I like it because when you hit share, you can do a full PDF report that's beautiful and it makes you look like the expert, but then they also do the website. So you can copy and paste this. And like, if you're using MLS, you send it to them on email and it gives you a beautiful website that you can share with your clients. And it just breaks everything down, gives you the location, makes it really easy to digest.
Yeah, that's great. And so it's a like annual subscription?
Yeah, you can pay by month or by annual.
Okay. And it's just for, yeah, okay. No, that's great. Thank you so much
You
for
can
sharing.
do any property in anywhere. It pulls from MLS and realtor.com data.
So you get comps from this website as well, right?
You can, yeah, that's the best part. It kind of does everything for you. You still have to go through and look at your comps because sometimes it's not accurate and I'll have to uncheck them, but you can go in and if I scroll all the way down to the bottom, here's this subject, and then it gives you the map of the comparables.
Okay, right. That's very nice. Yeah, and the layout is nice. So yeah, you can share to your clients rather than a spreadsheet, which is like just numbers. Yeah, that's
right.
cool.
If you sell one vacation rental, it pays for itself, right? I think this is the first. I hate spending money on my business unless I actually have to. I've learned after doing the Excel spreadsheet and plugging in the numbers, and then the calculator doesn't work and the formula is off. It's sometimes nice to pay for the software, and I think I paid $400 for the whole year.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you.
Great question. All right, we have 5 minutes left. Is there any last burning questions? Who wants to unmute themselves, raise their hand?
What are your I believe that Miami is the best Airbnb market in the country, if I'm not mistaken. But do you feel that we're gonna see a decrease in I guess occupancy because of in 3 to 5 years there's gonna be more condos coming on the market, and you just see the demand decreasing, in a quote unquote post-COVID world? Or
Yeah.
what are your overall thoughts on just Airbnb in general right now?
Yeah, no, it's something that I get asked a lot, especially in like the downtown Miami area, because it's like, wait, all of these buildings are going up pre-construction, they're all advertising it as Airbnb. But the thing about Miami is like, and I don't want to sound like a sales developer either, like giving the spiel, but like I truly believe that Miami has been undervalued for so long, and there has been a undersupply of short-term rental properties and hotels in the area. For example, I think that like Nativo going up was such a strategic play, being how Nativo was built on the street that leads out of the port, and we know that people are coming from the port of Miami and they usually go to Orlando, like all the tourists, they go to Orlando. So instead of, skipping over Miami, like I think that they're actually going to stay maybe a couple more days in Miami, especially when everything that in Miami World Center goes up and how beautiful that's going to look. And then, oh my God, District 11th. Can we believe what's happening on 11th Street? I mean, you would not want to walk outside Club Space, outside of 11, the corner. That whole it's absolutely crazy how that whole area is being built up. So yes, I know that we're going to get some more supply for sure, and of course, economic supply and demand, but I'm a big believer that everything that our city is doing, the signature arches, building the $1 billion bridge, the double-decker bridge, how it's going to just be a lot easier to come and go. I feel like we will see strong demand. We're a year-round city. Our hotel occupancy has always pre-pandemic been around like 70 and 80%. And now that the world has, reopened from COVID last year and people are realizing that they can work down here on a transient basis, that number has not dipped past 80. Like you can pull this from the Miami-Dade, Greater Miami Tourism Bureau. Like our occupancy rates have not dipped back down to pre-COVID.
I have two questions very fast because I know the time is running. Do you sell a lot of new constructions? Because as you mentioned, now there's more new development and everything is completely fully furnished. And the second question is, what would be a good rate of return for vacation rental property in a condominium, for example, for a condominium and a house, if you can split the two of them?
Yeah. So the first question about like new construction, I sell a lot of, my investors, they come to me for the new construction, the Elser, District 225, West 11th. Those are probably the big ones. District 225, I can't believe how fast it sold out. I mean, they didn't even have a sales office and they were 100% sold, right? So yes, the new construction I lean heavily on, but then when it comes to like Club at Brickell Bay that I've sold in, the Club at Brickell Bay, I just ran numbers yesterday, funny enough, cash on cash, and again, no we're not talking about finance, it's just like cash on cash return, about 4 to 5%, which again, isn't like crazy, but you have to think like the numbers are nice. I think it is like a workable investment. It would make sense, but then also the benefit of having a property right behind the site of Ken Griffin's Citadel that they're finally going to build on that parking lot. It's like us as realtors need to tell our clients like, hey, this is what is happening. Like this lot was purchased by like the biggest billionaire, in Florida. Like if you buy a Club at Brickell Bay, I can't promise appreciation, but it just feels good. It feels like, yes, you're going to get a 4% cash on cash return in a building that allows daily rentals, which you may be able to finance because it is a condo, not a condo hotel, and just the future of appreciation. All right. Thank you everybody so much. I love teaching this class. My goal is just to give back. Again, I started when, I would just get random calls from people who would, have all of these ideas. So my goal was not to discourage anybody, but just to give you like a real life example into working with these clients. So thank you all so much. I am always willing to connect and collaborate with you all. So you can add me on Instagram and follow me. I will follow you back at Joe Sells Miami. And then if you just go on Google and type Joe Sells Miami, I'm here wherever you find me. So I would love to connect with you if I can be a resource. And thank you again, everybody. Thank you again, Kevin.
Thank you so much, Joe. We always love hosting this class. I don't think we'll be waiting a whole year to have you back, to be honest. And hey, listen, this is what YPN is all about, is showing all the different expertise from some of our youngest members and people that it just shows that you don't have to be in. How long have you been in the industry, Joe? What has it been? 5 years?
This is my 5th year, if you can believe
Yeah,
it.
man. I remember, I think, well, let's share the end of this class with story time. I remember it was about 5 years ago. Joe posted his first 2 commission checks. I think they were just rentals, right? On
They
IT.
they were like wholesale deals. They were like, I made my first year in real estate, I made 1 lease, and then like that wasn't working out. So I went on YouTube and like I was looking for real estate investors and I was looking for a mentor, and I found a mentor and I was like, hey, I will work for you for free. Can you just like teach me how to cold call and like scripts and like what I need to say and everything? So I worked for a mentor. And so funny enough, I worked a whole month, no sales, just like Monday through Friday, pounding the phones, calling people, and on the day that I was going to quit, I had somebody on the phone who sold me 2 houses, and like we made it a win-win. So like, don't give up, like keep pushing. Like I was really like, I was in the bathroom on my phone, like on LinkedIn, like maybe being a realtor like isn't for me, but then like once you push through, like hold with it for a month, push through, because you'll find success. It's a numbers game, everybody, right? Like you'll find success one way or another.
But yeah, it was just really cool to see that post and you just starting to like our content. Because if you like my PN content a lot, I'll check out your page. I'll see what you're up to and everything else. And to see you from those first 2 checks to now is just simply unbelievable. So congratulations for all your hard work, Joe. Thank you so much for your expertise, and we look forward to showcasing you more in the future.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks you. So much. And hey, one last thing, we are hosting our 2nd annual YPN Global Congress in Dubai coming up next February. So if you are interested in attending, please email kevin@miamire.com. I'll also send the link out when we send the recording of this class. I know somebody had requested to record this class. I said no. I will be sending you the recording of this class. And then Joe, I need to go back and scan your QR code. It's okay if I send those slides as well, correct? Maybe Joe left. But anyways, that's it for today, everybody. Hopefully this was helpful for your short-term rentals. It could be a very lucrative business. We're having a lot coming onto the market here in the next couple of years. So prepare yourself, be ready, and be able to give your clients and customers the best experience possible when it comes to short-term rentals. Thank you so much. Be great. And we'll see you in class next week. Take care. Goodbye.
If I find my way home, yeah. Wouldn't it be crazy? Oh, can't you still amaze me?